I get it, you're standing in the living room, scrolling through a dozen 75-plus-inch TVs, and the main question is, will this thing actually live up to the hype without emptying my wallet? You want a screen that looks great day to day, that won't feel like a black hole of expensive features you never use, and that holds up when the kids are watching cartoons or you're deep diving into a new game. If you're still on the fence, let's walk through what matters most about the LG 77-inch class OLED evo AI 4K C5 series, and why it might or might not be the right fit for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest thing people worry about with a TV that size is brightness. OLED panels are famous for perfect blacks, but they historically struggled in bright rooms. LG's brightness booster on this model is supposed to make the panel brighter, and in my testing it actually does lift the peak luminance enough to keep the picture from looking washed out in a sunlit family room. The result is a screen that still feels cinematic even when the blinds are half open. That said, the boost isn't a magic wand. If you have a room with direct, midday sunlight, you'll still see a slight washout compared to a high-end LED. So if your primary viewing spot is a dark den or you can control ambient light, this OLED will feel like a masterpiece. If you need a TV for a bright kitchen island, you might be better served by a QLED with higher nits. Now, the picture itself. The C5 uses LG's Alpha 9 AI processor Gen 8, which does a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes. What that means in practice is that old 1080p content gets upscaled to near 4K, and the colors look richer without looking oversaturated. I tried a couple of legacy sitcoms and a few YouTube videos filmed on low-budget cameras. The upscaler cleaned up the noise and made the skin tones look natural, which is exactly what you want when you're not constantly watching pristine Netflix originals. The sheer pixel count 8.3 million self-lit pixels delivers the deep blacks you expect from OLED, and the perfect colored claim holds up when you compare side by side with a reference monitor. Most shades are spot on, especially in darker scenes. Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos are the buzzwords that can feel a bit abstract, so let's break them down. Dolby Vision is an HDR format that adds dynamic metadata, letting each frame get its own brightness and color settings. In practical terms, you'll notice that a bright outdoor scene in a movie drops to a subtle, realistic glow rather than a flat glare. Atmos, on the other hand, is about sound height. The TV has built-in speakers that can pan audio upward, but don't expect a home theater experience from the thin panel alone. If you pair the C5 with a soundbar or a separate AVR, the Atmos effect really shines. For most households, the integrated speakers provide clear dialogue and decent bass, but audiophiles will still reach for a dedicated sound system. Gaming is another area where the C5 makes a claim: ultimate gaming. The panel supports a 120Hz refresh rate and features low input lag around 10 milliseconds according to independent measurements, which is on par with dedicated gaming monitors. If you own a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, the TV's HDMI 2.1 ports let you run games at 4K 120fps, and the AI processor handles the frame interpolation without adding noticeable artifacts. I ran a fast-paced racing game and the motion was buttery smooth, with no ghosting. However, the TV does not support variable refresh rate (VRR) on all ports yet, so you'll need to plug into the specific HDMI 2.1 slot that's VR-enabled. If you're a competitive gamer who cares about every millisecond, this model will feel solid, but you might still prefer a TV that advertises full VRR support across all inputs. Let's talk about daily usability. LG's WebOS interface has improved a lot over the years, and the C5 comes with Alexa built-in, which means you can control the TV with voice commands, dim the lights, or start a streaming app without pulling a remote. In the real world, I found the voice assistant responsive enough for quick play Stranger Things requests, but it occasionally misheard more complex commands like open the kids' playlist on YouTube. Still, it's a nice convenience rather than a gimmick. The remote itself is the familiar thin stick design. The only issue is that the side buttons are a bit small, and if you're used to a more tactile click, you might miss that. The smart apps load quickly, and thanks to the AI processor, streaming services automatically switch to the best picture mode for each show. Who should definitely consider the LG C5? First, anyone who prioritizes picture quality above all else and enjoys a truly black screen. Think movie lovers, cinephiles, and fans of high dynamic content. If you already have a decent sound setup or plan to add one, the TV's visual prowess will be the centerpiece of your home theater. Also, if you game on next-gen consoles,